I'm here today with Ossama Bawardi, the producer who turned the impossible logistics of an incredible epic, Palestine 36, into a reality. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's talk about this small miracle that you made. Palestine 36 is a massive co-production with many international stakeholders. How do you maintain a purely Palestinian creative vision when there are so many international stakeholders?
It's a tough business already, before being Palestinian, before being a Palestinian producer. It's very important to find support within our community. Our community, our people help me maneuver this ship and help me be in control and help me be the captain of the ship. And as a Palestinian producer, it's difficult, to set films up already, but still as a Palestinian film and a big film like this, the biggest Palestinian in Palestinian history, in Palestinian cinema history, you have to be strong and you have to always fight for the final say. And you have to maintain, the spirit of the film, the essence of the film. It's a film about Palestine for Palestine. And to be honest, we were lucky. I was lucky to have good partners. Our international partners, our British partners, French partners, Swedish, Danish, American, from all over the world. Of course, also the Arab partners we have, also our Turkish partners. The Arab partners, obviously we had the Palestinian support, Jordanian support, Saudi support, Qatari support. It's a big international co-production, as you said, but I was lucky to have good partners that did believe in the film and believed in the script and believed in Anne-Marie's vision. And it's a maneuver between being lucky, having the right and good partners, and also being strong to maintain, the final say and to keep, the vision clear.
Let's talk about the casting of Jeremy Irons. How did that come about? And what were the legal hurdles of bringing in an Oscar winner into a production in a conflict zone?
So, Jeremy involvement in the project came from Anne-Marie as a director of the film. She knew they served together in a jury on the Berlin Film Festival. And Jeremy fell in love with Anne-Marie as a director, and he was up to work with her on a film. And Anne-Marie was already working, on this film, and she had this walk-up character, the the British High Commissioner in Palestine. And we all thought, it's the perfect cameo for Jeremy. It's not a very big role in the film, but it's a significant role. And and this is how it happened. Now, obviously, with a star, there is always complications of legality, of agents, of obviously a business deal that should come in place. Here, came our British co-producers, where they helped a lot to get this deal done. And but obviously the will of the actor to be in a Palestinian film, in this film, this is what made it happen. Otherwise, it would have, never happened. There was other challenges to bring Jeremy to, as you said, the war was happening at
Yes.
the time when we filmed, and insurance had some reluctant. The insurance company was reluctant about bringing these stars, even to Jordan, where it's safe. We all know it's safe, but it was a challenge to overcome all these obstacles. But again, we were lucky, to have good partners to overcome all of these challenges.
You and Anne-Marie have worked together for decades. How was working on Palestine 36 different than other films like Wajib, for example?
Every film we make, we say this is the most difficult thing we ever made. But every time it's proven that we are wrong. Palestine 36 is different than any other film that I did. I did, many films with Anne-Marie and, with other directors. But really, Palestine 36 was a real challenge because it's the biggest Palestinian film ever, the most complicated Palestinian film ever, a historical film with more than 100 locations, 100 cast members, in multiple languages, huge locations, trains, harbors, explosions, stunt work, action scenes, livestock, a big film. In the most difficult times for Palestine, in the middle of a war. We were shut down twice because of the war. We were preparing the film in Palestine, and the war, we were supposed to begin the shoot on the 14th of October 23, and we woke up 1 week before the shoot. Everything collapsed. We lost all our work of like 6 months work,
The village that you restored?
The village we restored. We built so much, vehicles. We had, people working, research, like a huge amount of work. It all, gone with the wind, as they say. But still, somehow we pulled it off.
You're Palestinian.
Yes, it's resilience.
Yes.
It's to come, to revive, like, to gather whatever energy you have left and to make it. We are stubborn, Anne-Marie is stubborn, and I think I am stubborn, or maybe it's contagious. I don't know. And I cannot fail. Like, failure is out of the question. I fail? No way. I will never fail. I wouldn't, for such a film, because I took it as, during the war, people felt helpless. We felt helpless. There's nothing we can do to help, people in Gaza and in the West Bank. People starving to death, genocide. This is the least we can do, is to make this film. And I'm speaking of luxury, we were in our cars, we were sleeping on beds, right, in proper houses, hotels, we were eating, we had food. This is luxury, right?
Survivor's guilt.
And this is how we took our energy, is, from Gaza. And this is how we kept going. And for us, it was our duty to make this film. This is what we have to do. This is what we want. We know to do. We don't know to do. Like they say, resistance. But I don't know what to do. Like, what is resistance, right? This is my act of resistance, to make this kind of films.
And it's incredibly powerful. It's a powerful act of resistance. As a producer, how do you handle the marketing of a film set in 1936 while the entire world is focused on a humanitarian crisis in the present day? Unfortunately, it's still ongoing.
People get interested on... people are not stupid. People know People know there is history, there are backstories, and I think there is a true need in the world to learn about Palestine, to know where this problem started. And in the film, as you saw, you see that it's exactly what's happening today happened 100 years before, 90 years before. Exactly the same. The walls, the fence, the massacres, it's the same with different technology, more sophisticated today, but it's the same story. And this is where the problem started, not only for Palestine. You know, the British Empire has caused so much suffering. So many countries were lost. So many countries changed forever, you know, from the Far East until the United States, right? And people, when they see the film, they say, oh, now finally I get why there is a conflict today. Finally I get why there is war today. You know, everybody, what's the reason of the war? Like everybody keeps Israel, Palestine, there is a war. And we made a film really about the origins of this story. And in the same time, you know, there was never a film about this period in Palestine, about the 30s, about the Palestinian revolution, the longest strike in history. And us as Palestinians, we also deserve a glory film, you know, a film about our revolution, about how strong we are, about the sacrifices we put. We deserve such a film, and it was never made. And we didn't want to make another film about just the suffering or about, no, it's a glorious film about our people, about how strong we are, about the beginning of our struggle, right? So we feel that us Palestinians deserve this film. And the film is for Palestinians first, you know, for Arabs first. We make films for our audience first, and then for the rest of the world. And I think our people deserve such a film.
I agree, because we're not just the suffering and the pain,
Exactly.
We're much more than that. If you could go back to pre-production and the first day that you started shooting, what advice would you give yourself?
What advice?
Yeah.
Like knowing what happened?
Yes.
Oh, really? So many advice. I wish. But I'm almost sure I would have done the same mistakes over and over, and over again. But I mean, you know, when we decided to shoot in Palestine, we knew there was a risk. We knew there was a gamble. And we talked about it. But we said, you know what? No, landscape is part of the film, and we have to shoot this film in Palestine. And we did film eventually part of it in Palestine. You know, the last week was done in Palestine, because where else can you shoot Jerusalem?
Exactly.
Where else can you shoot Jaffa? Where else can you shoot Bethlehem, right? But I would have, because, you know, I also work a lot in Jordan, and Jordan is a second home for us. And we also have our company in Jordan. Maybe I would have decided to come here from the beginning and make the most of it in Jordan. You know, because, like, you know, after the war started, and then we waited, and, you know, nothing was changing, and then we decided to come to Jordan. You know, Jordan, for a lot of Palestinians, this is our second home. And Jordan is supportive, you know, of the Palestinian cause, of Palestinian films. So many Palestinian films were made in Jordan. And you cannot separate the two countries or the two people. It's so integrated, and we completely feel, you know, like also Jordan, when we came out of the war from Palestine and came to Jordan, Jordan embraced the film. And Jordan, you know, invested in the film and helped the film become what it is now. So maybe I would have decided from the beginning to shoot most of it here, and then it would have saved me much time, much money, much because it's also when you do something twice, it's draining emotionally also for the artistic team to prepare a film twice, to do, like, you know, it's
the emotional toll it must have took on the team when the entire village was, you were in a way you were displaced again, and it just mirrored the theme of exile.
But still, there is a good thing about it that, you know, we gave this renovated village to the Farha village, where people thank us until today, and they, you know, it's the money did not go, you know, like we supported families, workers, we renovated the village, so it was a positive thing to do.
So in spite of Jewish settler aggression, the physical work is still there?
Yes.
So the village is still standing?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Because it's the old part of the village where it's, you know, surrounded by the new kind of village, and it's like we revived it, and now they use it, you know, now it came back to life. And for us, this is also an achievement, you know, maybe not, we don't see it on the film, but still it's, and this is why at the time we decided to shoot in Palestine, because our role, you know, producers, when we go and raise finance for a film, the decision where to make the film, it's the decision where you will spend, you know, these finances. And this is a contribution to the local film industry. And our, you know, it's always in our work that, okay, we want to develop the Palestinian film industry or the Jordanian film industry, right? And this is how these industries become, you know, from people like us making films and more films, and giving jobs, you know, to our team members, our crew members, etc.
What was the most difficult period detail to recreate from 1936? Was it like the social atmosphere of Jerusalem, or the weapons, or?
It was the most tricky part was the vehicles, especially the British military vehicles, and we created those. You know, we created them also twice. You know, once in Palestine. So we went to a, how do you call it, an iron, you know, blacksmith or whatever, in Nablus, with some car mechanic, with some, you know, and we built a tank, like a Rolls-Royce tank. We built a bus. We built old, you know, jeeps. But then, you know, we had to come to Jordan. In Jordan, we also built few of those, but it was extremely difficult to find, you know, the proper 30s vehicles. But we managed. You know, there are some museums in Jordan that do carry some good, like, you know, the Royal Automobile Museum and some other museums where they do have, you know, few good vehicles. And then whatever is missing, we accomplished with visual effects in post-production. But this was, vehicles was a bit tricky. This is strictly from, you know, producer's perspective, right? There was other challenges to revive the accents of the time, you know. We had the different accents. We had the village accent, Jerusalem accent, and then we had the British accent, and then we had, you know, in the city there was also different. So there was the aristocratic class in Jerusalem, and then there was the Jaffa, port workers, and so we had 3 accent coaches, with one for the British, one for the village, one for Jerusalem, and one for Jaffa. So accents, we did a lot of research and resources around that.
Werde, who plays Afra.
Sorry?
Werde,
Yeah,
who plays Afra,
yeah.
she told me that this was a tricky part for her. It was very tricky to pronounce some of the words.
Completely.
Yeah.
Because a lot of words, we don't use them anymore.
Yes,
we
that's
don't
true.
use the tools or items anymore. And it was a learning experience, for all of us, especially the cast. Yeah.
I want to ask you, what does Palestine land represent to you? What does it mean for you?
Land is a character in the film, and they talk about land, through the whole film. Land for us Arabs is like the concept of land is different, than the settlers' perspective or the occupier perspective. Because for us, it's also a line in the film. The relationship with the land we inherited since thousands of years. And those terraces that we see in the film, it's a build of hundreds or thousands of years. And the living proof of that is the olive trees, that every olive tree in the world, its origin in Palestine. Every tree in the world, olive tree. And we still have olive trees in Palestine that are thousands years old. And this relationship, we call it khair in Arabic, right? Like khair is-sini, this year's good. Olives or harvest, and sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. And it's also in our religions, no matter which religion you are. Land is present in these, so it's like I have memories of my farmer auntie that was living in a village in the Galilee. I used to spend almost summer, and to go and harvest and go in the spring and harvest za'atar and harvest halayon and harvest I don't know what. And this relationship, it's pure ancient relationship since when civilization started. And in the film, it is a character. It's what we fought for, and it's what we're still fighting for. It's what we are defending, the land. This is the most important thing for us, I think.
And for justice, what does justice mean to you or in Palestinians' lives?
Just at these times, it's a bit
ironic, no?
It's very ironic, and it's tough how to answer such a big question in a very short setting. But justice is, to have honor, to be able to raise your children in honor and to be able to provide food and basics of life in honor. Justice is that our heritage doesn't die, is that our history doesn't stop. It's a very big word, but I think, I think is to keep Palestine alive.
Yes, I agree. What do you think cinema can do that news can't?
Cinema, it's an art form. It's an art form that gathers a lot of arts together. And this is what's special about cinema, and this is why I love cinema. Because it have acting, directing, music, sound, makeup, dance, any form of art, you can find it in cinema. And this is the magic of cinema. And what cinema can do is it can first let audience explore their imagination through cinema. And the good cinema is the cinema that gives space to the audience to think and to get their imagination working. And they ask questions. And also, have emotions. Like cinema would take out emotions of people. It can be sadness, it can be anger, it can be love, it can be happiness, it can be sadness. Why do people go to cinema to see a horror film? It's scary. We like to be scared. It's the same reason why we like to eat spicy food. It's something out of the routine, out of the norm. And it's all chemicals in our brain. And in news you cannot give. It's like giving factual information, very dry, very strict, like that. But in cinema, it's something else. It's all about the audience imagination, and it's all about emotions. And in cinema also you can tell a story. In the news you do tell a story, but in a very dry and factual way that is not always appealing, to audience. It's good to know, but it doesn't leave an impact on people as cinema does. Even that cinema is fake, right? It's a made up fiction, and the news is the real thing. But cinema affects people more because we use art to reach people. Through art, and art is the fastest way to the soul.
And what does solidarity with Palestine look like to you?
Solidarity with Palestine, it's not really solidarity with Palestine, it's solidarity with the humanity. Our cause is a human cause, is the right cause, It's, you just have to be a good person, and then this is, I consider it solidarity with Palestine, It's obvious, it's very clear what's right and wrong. Yes, life is complicated and there's a lot on that. It's never black and white completely. There's always the grayscale, but still, to be a good person, because our cause is just. قضيتنا عادلة. You just have to. That's it. It's simple.
And it doesn't make sense when people use the alibi that it's a very complex situation over there in the Middle East, and I don't know.
It's not complicated at all. It's not complicated. Like, it's completely clear, crystal clear.
Yes.
You just have to read a little and do a bit of research, and very obvious. There is the occupier, and there is the occupied. Period. There's nothing else. There is the colonialist, and there is the native. It's clear. It happened in history hundreds of times, And for me, it's crystal clear. Not only because I'm Palestinian, but because
human.
Any child would get this. Like, it's so simple. I don't see anything complicated in this dynamic.
How does the film relate to our Nakba?
So, 1936, the Palestinian Revolution was crushed by the British occupation or colonialism, and they prepared the way for the Zionist movement to take over Palestine. They exiled all our leaders. They crushed the armed, revolution. They displaced many villages, did a lot of massacres, and also what was smart of them is that they took the economy. So through unions, because they brought all of this knowledge, the settlers, the Jewish settlers and the British, they brought a lot of knowledge from Europe. And they were, a lot of them were from colonialist countries, so they had this mentality. And they knew how to, you know, how to, because they created banks, they created money, right? The West, not Arabs. At the time in this system, like the modern system we talk about today. And they took over the economy. And this was also how it led to the Nakba. Without them taking the economy, it was extremely difficult to take the country, right? So it was a combination of all of these, and then it all led to the Nakba. So this film is 10 or 12 years before the Nakba, and what happened in this film is obviously prepared for the Nakba later on, 10, 12 years after. And
what do you want global audiences to take from Palestinian memory?
You know, we have so much to give to the world. First, a lesson of resilience. Second, sacrifice. And then our country is an ancient country, you know, our old cities, religiously, it's the most important country in the, you know, in the world for religion, you know, the three religions, you know. And I feel lucky. I'm from Nazareth, and I feel lucky that I'm from a country and a city that is so ancient. I feel important. Yes. I feel blessed. I feel, you know, to be from a country that have so much rich history and rich traditions. Like, you know, we still have traditions that are 3,000 years old. We still eat recipes that are 2,000 years old. You know, recipes like my mother makes, like I cook these recipes, right? We still have traditions, you know, of food, of dance, of music, of culture that are so ancient. And this is rare, you know. Not every people in the world have this kind of richness, historical richness, you know. So I feel lucky that I have this, you know.
And what did you learn while working on this film and with the research about 1936, about the interrogation, the torture that was used by the British?
The Israelis copied that. And every colonial force, they use the same tools. The same tools, and imprisonment is one of those tools, and the torture is one of those tools, and the waterboarding that they used to do, and the tying, and the starvation, and it's exactly the same means, you know, that the Israelis are using, you know. They inherited them from the British. They were taught by the British.
Exactly.
You know.
They taught them.
Exactly. You know.
I want to thank you for being the backbone of this incredible masterpiece and for making sure that it came to life.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.